Episode 285.
I don't know if I regret them so much as they were just mistakes that I made, but I also feel I had to learn from them. And there's so many of those. I call them my $5,000 mistakes, and I make one or two a year. And there's, eventually, I'd like to think that stops happening, but they're really important lessons that I needed to learn.
Welcome, aftermarketers, to Remarkable Results Radio. Listen to learn just one thing from today's episode on your journey to remarkable results. Welcome, aftermarketers throughout North America and around the world, to a discussion with shop owner Ryan Blair, who is experiencing a 40% growth in his new facility, yet feeling the growing pains along the way. Hey, Carm Capriato here with Remarkable Results Radio, the aftermarket's most important library of short audio books that inform, challenge, and help inspire your own path to remarkable results. Welcome to episode 285. Hey, thanking Federal Mogul Motor Parts and Garage Gurus for their support of the podcast. Search for parts, get the latest technical updates, and sign up for their Garage Rewards loyalty program at fmmotorparts.com. Get in on the rewards. I hear all the time from aftermarket professionals thanking me for delivering strong educational value to them. I can only hope that you find the inspiration to help on your own remarkable pathway to success. Utilize the website, specifically the Tag Cloud, to narrow your focus and listen to episodes that will support an area that you're working on. So much quality content brought to you by your own aftermarket colleagues. Your learning curve never sounded so good. Another big welcome to new Facebook friends of the podcast, Wendy Pokic-Schwartz, Ken Slade, and Craig Tice. And new LinkedIn connections, Mark Williams and John LaSalle. Thanks for every social connection you've made to the podcast. Now, I have a convenient page with every social link sitting at remarkableresults.biz/social. And the next best thing is to be an aftermarket insider. Get a subscription to be in the know when every new episode is released. Find a link for the insider on the social page. Now meet Ryan Blair. Ryan is the owner of Blair Automotive, an Audi and VW specialty shop in Dallas, Texas. Now please find the show notes for this episode at remarkableresults.biz/E285. An interesting story here, and one that tells of the personal drive to move from honored Audi tech to business owner and growing faster than a speeding bullet. Ryan went to UTI, and he spent 8 years as an Audi tech and was the number one ranked technician in the entire southern region and top 5 in the nation. Never one not to reach his goals, he set his sights on owning his own specialty shop. The story's about when he went from a one-bay, one-man operation in 2014 to a 15-employee, 10-bay operation in their new state-of-the-art facility in Addison, Texas, this past July 2017. Listen to this energetic millennial who has risked all to build his dream service center. He speaks to his positive business culture and the financial challenges he's under. He's got a business coach who's helping him meet these challenges head on. A warm welcome to Ryan Blair, owner of Blair Automotive and BMP Tuning in Dallas, Texas. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, guys.
You told me that becoming a mechanic was an intellectual adventure. Wow. What the heck did that mean?
Most guys that get into, this industry, get into working with their hands, they come from a background where that's probably something they've been doing their whole life. Those are the kids that are pulling the VCRs apart and putting them back together and tinkering with their bikes and or working on cars with their old mans. And I just never did that. I was never mechanically inclined, so to speak. And for me, I came at it from this angle of being an enthusiast, and I was just always really interested in the way that things worked, more from an engineering perspective. How did all these things come together and come out with some net result? But I wasn't so much into doing that with my own two hands. I was into doing that, with my mind.
I got it. So what really happened is mom and dad said, hey, you're going to become a lawyer or a doctor. And you said, no, I'm going to go over and do this. And that was the intellectual challenge of being a tech.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I came from a family, of doctors and lawyers, and but I was also really lucky that they were very supportive, and they wanted me to do what I wanted to do, pursue my dreams and ambitions. And I always loved cars. I was always an enthusiast, of course, growing up around the cars with my family. I just couldn't help but falling in love with German engineering, Porsches and Audis. And so for me, it was, let's go see what this is about.
So you worked 8 years as an Audi tech?
I did, yes. I worked for Audi for 8 years. Before that, I went to school, Universal Technical Institute, and then went through their Audi Academy program.
Okay.
There's one thing going through the school and you're figuring everything out. You're learning the theory of everything. And then when you actually try and put it together in the dealership, I could tell you those are two completely different things. And it was definitely a struggle for me, especially the first few years. You're paying for your tools. You're trying to pay your rent. You're not making very much. You're not running very many hours. And even though I intellectually knew how these vehicles came together, how all of the systems worked, and I still love that, it's very different from physically working on the cars. How do I actually get that bolt off? And that's a completely different skill that you just can't learn in a school. And so you have to take your time. It's actually the hardest thing I've ever had to learn. I'm so used to just being able to master something very quickly and then move on. And this was a huge challenge for me, learning to work with my hands, learning to accomplish goals in this set environment, and then learning the system of the dealership in general, how to play the game.
But you never gave up.
No, I didn't. It was one of those things that a recurring theme that you'll find in my story is that I set myself a very specific goal and then I work towards it. And I work backwards, so I start with this goal that seems impossible. The more impossible, the better, because that just motivates me more to achieve. And then I say, what do I have to do every day in order to get there? And it took me some time, but I developed systems. I developed systems of efficiency. I started learning. I was a total open book. I learned from all of the guys around me as much as I could. And it took me about 3 years to put it all together, but then it really started coming together. Once it all clicked, the physical came together with the intellectual side, and then I really started running away with it.
And you started to make contributions to the dealership.
Yeah, absolutely. I started running a lot of hours, 400, 500 hours a month, which is a lot. Working very long hours to do that. My efficiency was not very high, just my total work hours were very, very high in order to achieve those numbers. And then I started looking at the systems in the dealership itself. Why are we doing things the way that we're doing it? How can we improve things? So I developed these efficiency techniques to get my hours and my production up. And I thought, well, if I take these efficiency techniques, take them up the chain of command, maybe we can get some things, done above my pay grade and actually improve the overall efficiency of the dealership itself.
So you kind of stepped out of your area of responsibility and said, I got some ideas over here. Now, did your fellow techs look at you like, this guy's weird?
Well, of course they always did, but they also, I think they respected that somebody was trying to do something, trying to affect change, trying to make the overall quality of life at the dealership better by changing a few things. And I think that they respected me for the work that I was doing, but also for trying to improve the overall conditions and systems at the dealership.
You were willing to jump on a sword for them.
A lot of the times I was able to wield almost like a negotiating weapon. It's like, well, I don't know where these other Master Guild 500-hour-a-month technicians you have are, but you got one here. And it allowed me to have more negotiating power with the dealership to kind of get things moving, to get things changed. And I tried to use it as much as I could for the better.
A big jump going from an 8-year tech at the Audi dealership. You're engaged, you're working with management, and take me to the moment that you said, oh my God, I've got the gallones to make this decision to move into my own place.
Yeah, I think it came down to two things. Like I said before, I had set those goals, and those goals were to become a top producer in the shop, which I did consistently. And the other goal was to become a Master Guild Technician, which is the highest certification you can get with Audi. I really wanted to get that. And then the third goal was to compete and win in the National Audi Tech Challenge. And I came to a point where I found that I had achieved all of those things in my 8th year at the dealership. And I decided that I needed another challenge. You know, I saw this future of what it would be like if I stayed at the dealership, and I'm branching into, okay, I could go into management, I could go into corporate, I could do many different things, but they all felt like side grades, and they all felt like they were kind of limiting in their potential. I was privy to a couple, meetings, being the lead tech at the dealership, and we were in a meeting one time, and Audi said we're going to be 1,000 bays and 1,000 technicians short just in Texas by the year 2015. And at the time, this was 2012, 2013.
Were you afraid, or did the light go on?
My first inclination was, what are we going to do? Here's a problem, let's solve it. And that's just what I've always been like. And it wasn't until the response from the corporate side, the guys just looked like deers in headlights, and they had no idea. Where are we going to get these technicians? How are we going to create infrastructure? Where are we going to get these bays? Are we going to create new franchises? No, we don't want to do that. And so it was this light bulb or idea kind of came into my head that if there's going to be this massive shortage, then there's this huge demand for what we do. And it was obvious, at that point in time, the technician shortages is starting to come into play. And that's something, you've talked about in depth. And it became more and more obvious that there was going to be a huge opportunity. And you can look at other brands as examples. If you look at BMW and Mercedes, you have these very large dealership structures, and then these very established independent facilities that work on those vehicles. But when you looked at Audi, you had a dealer structure that was anemic. It was built in the late 90s. It couldn't even handle the cars that was already selling and servicing. And then you had no independence. Nobody was established in this market. And so the combination of this looks like it'll be a challenge and a lot of fun, and I definitely have the demand for doing something different in this industry. And that was when I decided to go ahead. And I literally went in on New Year's Eve, and I was like, I'm done. I'm gone. And on January 1st, 2014, I didn't have anything. I didn't have a building. I didn't have a lift. I didn't have a customer base. I just quit.
But you had a dream.
I did. And I think, it was one of those things that it was kind of coming for a few months, maybe 6 months. I'd kind of decided that this was the way I wanted to go. So, of course, I started writing a business plan, even before I even really understood what all was supposed to be in a business plan. But basically, to me, it was just, well, here's a roadmap. Where am I trying to go? If I can think of what I want to do, then, again, working backwards from there, I can achieve it. And it's really funny. I actually found that business plan like underneath a box the other day when I was moving my facility. And I mean, it's amazing how many things I've actually implemented from that original plan down to individuals that I wanted to hire in specific positions. So it's just another example of how powerful that goal setting can be.
Okay, you recently found it. You had to flip some pages and took a look at it. Two really big highlights of differentiation that you had written in there that you've actually accomplished.
One of the things I wanted to accomplish was I wanted to have my operation at a certain scale. And the idea was to have a 2 or 3 person front end and then a 4 to 6 person technician team. And the idea was that this team would work really well together, really efficiently, and it would be at the right size. I think if you get too big, you lose some of that connection with your client. You lose that connection with each other. And I wanted a a bigger than normal independent, but I wanted something that worked really well together. And we just moved into our new 18,000 square foot facility, 10 bays. We have 4 full-time technicians right now, 2 service advisors, and an assistant training advisor. And then we're ramping up and growing into our new facility, and we'll be adding on a couple more technicians in 2018.
And how long did that take?
It took 3 years from the time that I quit the dealership to have the new facility.
I had to pick myself up off the floor.
It was a long journey.
Long? How about hard? Was it hard too?
It was a hard journey. It doesn't seem like that long. 3 years when you are running a business is very fast. I started, in just a 1 bay, just a 1,000 square foot facility, a storage unit actually, and it had gated entryways, and I had to give my customers a code so that they could get in. I mean, just so many barriers to entry and actually getting my customer base grown. And we started really small, but because I had that goal in mind of the scale that I wanted to operate at, I never even thought about my current scale and the profitability. The whole idea was to get to where I was trying to go. And of course, the main fuel for that is just money and hard work.
I'm talking with Mike Zralik, a technical product specialist with Federal Mogul Motor Parts. So you have this van, and it's the Guru on the Go van, and it's all nicely decked out, and you drop by for lunches and learns. How do shops get a chance to get that van to come to their place?
Well, they can, of course, call into our Guru hotline and request it. They can talk to their parts distributor, and through that channel, we can go out and do some training, or even with us out in the field. If they see us, we do various warehouse distributor type shows, many different events. We're out there everywhere. Just come by and ask, and we'll be more than happy to come by.
Hey, Mike, if I said you were a champion for Federal Mogul Motor Parts, would I be right?
You betcha.
So give me an example.
I live, eat, breathe Federal Mogul on a daily basis. Growing up, being in the racing industry, I knew a lot about Moog. I loved Moog. Felpro, same thing. To go out and be able to talk about a company this big, this strong, it makes me happy every single day. I'm so excited to do it on a day in and day out basis.
What are technicians saying after you're done with your presentation?
When can you come back? They want more day in and day out.
They want more, and you have more to give. You've got so many key product lines in the industry.
Oh, we have a ton of product lines and a ton of training that's available, with those product lines and on a technical side too.
How dazzled are the techs to see that compression-loaded ball joint with the pre-installed integral dust boot?
They come unglued. They are so excited about that because less frustrations. They've been dealing with issues in the field of damaging that boot during installation, and it makes it so much easier to put in. And it's a beautiful piece.
Federal Mogul Motor Parts' Garage Gurus is your go-to source for the vehicle training, technology, and answers you need to keep your next job on track. On-site, online, or on demand, the Gurus are here to help keep your business and your career on the road to success. Visit fmgarageguru.com. And the other thing that I'm impressed about, and there are a lot of shop owners out there that keep asking, so tell me, this culture thing, how really important is it to have the right culture in the business?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's everything. And I built Blair Automotive on the idea of, can we take the best of the best from the dealership and make it available at an independent? And the idea was also that we could have the quality of life and the shop that we wanted. So this wasn't just my shop. This is all of our shop. And everybody that's here has ownership. And everybody that's here appreciates the opportunity to work in a space where they do the things that they're the best at. They do the things that they love with the flexibility and the freedom to do it the way that they want to do it. If I come down and I say, we're going to do something this way, I fully expect my team to say, why? And can we do it better? And that's this working together. Everybody wants to achieve the same goal. When you get everybody on the same path and everybody works together as a team, that's what's creating that culture, and that's what allows everybody to do what they do.
I think you just broke the code for us all, because when owners want to know how I start culture, I think it starts with why.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's even books about it now. Simon Sinek writes a great book, and on leadership specifically. You should read those; they're great. But it absolutely starts with that. Especially with the younger generation. I'm the oldest person in my business, and I'm 32. So everybody that works for me, obviously very competent, obviously at a very high level of what they do, but at the same age group or younger. And that becomes even more and more important. Of course, we've got the old guy. I've got old man Booth. He worked for Audi for 45 years. He's retired, but he comes in because I don't think he has anything else to do, but he loves it. And he's a huge help. But, so he kind of helps us out. And he actually trained me. I worked next to him at Audi. And so I love seeing him and working with him every day. But other than Booth, we've got a pretty young crew.
That's great to hear. Real good to hear. You told me that in your new facility, your customer growth rate is 40%.
Yes, we've noticed. So we moved into this new facility in July, and we have had a consistent, we measure weekly, 35 to 40% new customer acquisition rate in our new facility. I think it's a side effect of, if you build it, they will come. We really have created the dream shop. The place is beautiful. It's clean. We have this wonderful showroom. We have all of these amenities.
And that's all that it takes. Just build a beautiful place and you're going to grow 40%. I just, I'm having a tough time with that. Build it and they will come. Give me a couple of hows. How'd you get this done?
Yeah. So I think more to the actual growth rate is when we moved into this location is definitely more centrally located. So I will say that the location is absolutely helping with our new customer acquisition. We are much more convenient to get to now than we were previously. We were in a suburb north of Dallas before, and now we're kind of right in the middle. So that is a big factor. Where you're located does matter. But I think more than that, it's this reputation now. Now we have 3 years behind us of great reviews of customers that are very happy with the service and the work that they've received. And that just continues to grow. And obviously our number one source of customer acquisition is referral. And we're seeing that very strongly in this new location. And we're also getting, number two behind referrals and not very far behind is Facebook. And we put a lot of energy and effort into our online presence. And we're especially really active on Facebook and Instagram.
So glad to hear that. You are scaling your business. It seems, you went from the small to the super duty large in 3 years. After you get, an 18,000 square foot facility, when you say scale to me, does that mean more branches someday?
I definitely think that that's an option. I would probably look at something like something a little bit smaller, remote service facilities in different suburbs, different areas, something that's more efficient. 18,000 square feet is never efficient. It's just too big. I think a smaller model, I've been playing around with some different things, a manager, advisor, and 3 to 4 technician model could be very profitable in an affordable space and kind of bring our service to more areas. But right now we're focused on scaling up in our current facility and growing a couple of our other businesses that we have here.
Would you continue to stay with the specialty, the Audi VW?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of who we are and where we came from. And all of our employees are enthusiasts of the brands, Audi and Volkswagen. And that's definitely always going to be the mainstay of what we do. Now, that being said, I'm always open-minded to whatever opportunities may arise. And, I'm never going to say, we're not ever going to work on anything else. We don't turn anybody away. You know, we work on Porsches, BMWs, Mercedes. We typically stick to German, but we definitely specialize, and we've invested in the Audi and VW brands with the factory scan tools and the factory equipment, and being able to do everything that the dealership can do. And all of our loaner vehicles are Audi and VW vehicles.
Okay, so Ryan, you're a get-it-done kind of guy. You got any rules or disciplines that help you get things done?
You know, for me, it's extremely important for me to be scheduled. And so what I mean by that is if I don't nail down everything that I'm going to do and constantly remind myself of the goal that I'm working towards, then I get stuck in this area where I'm just putting out fires all day.
So it's not fires. You're just not chasing. You're not chasing ideas, and all of a sudden a Facebook thing takes you over here for a half hour by mistake.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's very difficult, as other shop owners know, you try and stay on a schedule, but things are constantly coming up. And for me, if I can stick to something general, and carve out time to work on specific things throughout the day, like carve out time, like right now I'm in the process of completely redoing my business plan just because it just didn't feel right to me. So now I'm putting it back together from a different angle, and I'm always writing. I'm always thinking about the big picture. I'm the big picture guy. I'm lucky I've got my manager, Jared, to help with the day-to-day operations and kind of pull me down to earth sometimes. But I'm always thinking about those things and those directions. Sometimes
those are the best working relationships, high level, visionary thinker. And oh God, thank God I was able to build a big enough business so that I could hire my people who will pull the levers for me. That's what works for you.
Absolutely. And one of the things that, if you had a criticism of the way that we've done things, it could be that we've always operated bigger than we actually are, which means I've always had more personnel than we could actually afford. But the reason we did that is because we couldn't get to where we wanted to go without having those people. You can't grow your customer base and you can't have the customer experience that we're trying to provide without having the people there to do it. And I very quickly realized my shortcomings as, a service advisor. Of course, my whole career, I'm like, those guys, easy street, go play Minesweeper. And then, of course, I was my own service advisor for several years. And man, it's a whole new level of respect for the position. And I very quickly, in many aspects of the business, hire myself out really as quickly as I can so that I can focus on what I'm good at and they can focus on what they're good at.
That's a great statement. I love that. Hire myself out. Like that a lot. Hey, are you charging for diagnostic time?
The way that we do it is that we say that looking at the vehicle and doing our initial inspection, our ASR sheet or our digital inspections that we're about to implement, that is always free. And then we come back to the customer, and if a particular thing requires specific diagnosis, then we sell the diagnosis at that time. And obviously, it always rolls into the price of the repair. That's part of just this transparency, we're trying to show them that we're not like the dealership. We're not like maybe this mixed up, confused idea that people have about the industry, and that we can show them, hey, this is exactly what's going on, and we're totally upfront. And we also don't want to hit them with anything before they even get here. So that's part of our method. We'll see how that goes, but people seem to be reacting really well to it.
I'm a customer of your place, and you want me to have an unexpected perk. What would it be?
People never really expect a lot of the amenities that we have, but we have complimentary car washes for every vehicle. We offer loaner vehicles totally free of charge. If you need one, we set you up. We've got quite the fleet now, which is always growing, and we've got a great showroom and waiting area where we've got Netflix and movies and TV, and even have a little arcade shooter game, and we've got top of the line, coffee and espresso. With all that stuff there, do a lot of people wait? We actually have seen the number of waiters go up since our facility got much nicer. It's one thing to hang out basically in the office of the service advisor while your car's getting worked out. It's another thing to lounge in comfort and wait for vehicle to get fixed. And it also helps us manage our loan fleet, get the cars in and out, and gets our pipeline more established when we can have more people waiting in the waiting area, for sure.
Do you got some good QC procedures in place?
Myself and my advisors, we always test drive the vehicles. We have a test drive policy after every repair is done, and it goes through at least 2 people. So the technician, and then always at least one more person. If it's my manager or one of the other advisors or myself, we always drive it to double check to make sure that everything's perfect.
And the advisor has that much time to give to a test drive?
He makes the time. It's that important to us. He has to be able to look the customer in the eye and say, this is 100% right. And if he can't say that and he doesn't have that confidence, then we're not doing our job.
Share with us one quick idea on how to make more money at a shop.
The things that we do, like right now, we're going through the process of adding some additional features, and we're hoping that those will help increase our revenue. One is we started offering financing in-house. We've already started offering financing on our e-commerce platform, on our parts distribution business, and we saw a massive increase in purchases through our website because of the financing options.
Let's stop right there, and because people are going to say, what the heck is that? BMP Tuning?
Yes, BMP Tuning is our in-house parts distribution business. It came together kind of as we were trying to get better margins for our performance brands. We do a lot of performance installation and tuning through brands like APR, AWE, 034 Motorsports. And as part of those negotiations, we increased our profit margin on the parts significantly, but with that came also some territories. And then we started doing wholesale because we now had to manage the territories. It became very quickly, I realized that I was not going to be able to manage a shop and a parts distribution business with an e-commerce platform at the same time. And so we merged our beginning little parts business with an existing parts business that had been around for about 8 years called DWS Parts. And together we created BMP Tuning. And with their expertise on how to run a parts business and some of my accounts in my e-commerce platform, we've created something new and something really competitive on the national scale.
Are you in partners with them? Is that it?
Yes, so I'm a 50-50 partner with the owner, Audrey McVicker from DWS Parts, and now we run BMP Tuning together. And they operate in-house, so we've got our inventory and everything and our shipping and receiving. We've got a wholesale guy who manages. We now have about 75 to 100 or so wholesale accounts that are purchasing parts from us every day. We're continue to negotiate territories. We are now, moving up through the Midwest, as far as the different areas that we're selling to, and then doing a lot on our e-commerce platform.
Yeah, what's so interesting is you say e-commerce, but e-commerce sees no territories, basically. And so how does that work?
Yeah, so the territories are essentially for the wholesale side, and that's what determines, where we can sell to within our wholesale. Okay,
but B2C is open wide.
Absolutely, and a majority of our business obviously is still just retail, and our new website, bmptuning.com, is definitely growing very quickly, and we're really excited about it.
Would you share what your Black Friday number was or not?
Yeah, I mean, it blew all of our expectations, but across all of the businesses, we were above $250,000 for the Black Friday week.
How cool is that?
It was really cool.
Okay. Hey, team building. I know you're big in that. A recent team building exercise?
We like to have fun together. That's one of those things. A lot of these guys, before they were my employees, they were my coworkers. These were the guys I worked with at Audi. A lot of these guys were in my wedding. So we're really good friends, and we like to do things together. I gave that example about going to opening day and things like that, closing the shop down. We also, it seems silly, but we all play video games together. And
well, you're all under 32.
Yes. So it's not unheard of for us to close the shop down, and on a day that a new game comes out and we just take the day off, we play the game, we all hang out, we go to one guy's house or the other. And then of course all of our customers are like, where is everybody? And they're like, we're playing the game. And then they get in on the game too. So we're having a good time. But yeah, we just recently, I took all the guys, we all went to go see the new, DC, Superman, Batman, Justice League movie, for fun. So we do things like that, have a good time and try and spend time outside of work together for sure.
If I asked a good friend or a peer, what's the secret to your success? What will they tell me?
I think people would say that the secret to the success is a vision and a belief in that vision, a belief that it will happen and that I will work towards that. And a lot of people have put their faith in that. A lot of people quit very, very, very good jobs at the dealership to come work for me, to take a chance on something different, on something that they could mold into something that's their own, and I don't believe that anybody would have done that if they didn't see my belief in it itself, if they didn't believe in my vision for what we're trying to do.
What's the greatest entrepreneurial challenge you have right now?
Right now, we're just facing cash flow. We're in a new massive building. We went from a 2-technician model to a 4-technician model and 2 more people on the front end overnight. So not only did we triple the size of our expenses, we only doubled the size of our business. And so now it's just a matter of time of scaling that up into our new facility. So right now, yeah, we're having to get creative. We're having to, mix and match and move things around and make sure that we all have the feeling that we're strapped to this rocket ship and it's about to blow up. And so we're just holding on right now.
Ryan, does your team know of these challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a total transparency with my customers as well as with my team, and everybody knows, hey, we've all got to work together to hit these numbers, to make sure that we all get to keep these jobs and we get to keep this dream alive. But it's not easy. I haven't paid myself a dime. I've put in everything I own, everything that I earned while I was working for the dealership, and I did very well there, properties and retirement funds, and everything has been put into this business. And that's all been the fuel to grow it at the rate that we needed to grow it at. And I wouldn't have been able to do that, without having been set up before I came into it, with my properties and things like that. So, but now it's at the end of the road. I have literally leveraged myself as far as I can leverage myself. And we now just have to make it work.
Okay. So I now understand the reason to update the business plan.
Yes. The main reason is now it's something so much more than just Blair Automotive. I've got to make sure I get everything in. And also, we are opening ourselves up for the possibility of needing investments. And I need to be able to approach people with something that really makes sense for them and something that makes sense for us, and being able to convey what we're doing in a business plan. That's very difficult to do. Trying to convey what you do on a piece of paper is not that easy.
Business acumen, dad, brothers, friends, business coach. Where are you getting this? You were a tech for 8 years, business owner now for 3 to 4. You gotta have gone to the well for something.
Absolutely. I think I had some natural leadership abilities, and that was obvious. And then some natural, problem solving abilities, but that's not gonna get you there when running a business. I did learn a lot from my dad. He's a doctor and runs a very successful practice. And then I also was smart enough to get a business consultant through Elite. And Kevin is my coach, who we had on several weeks ago, and that's been huge for us, because it's one thing to have this vision, and then it's a totally different thing to understand the building blocks that you have to have in order to achieve that. And I'm not ever going to be the one that says I know everything and I know how to do all of this stuff, and so I soaked all of this information up, like a sponge, and we operated our business for several years of just having very talented people, and everybody just knew what to do. And so we had very few policies and procedures. We had very few systems really at all, because everybody had been doing what they were doing already for about 10 years at the dealership.
You were running on autopilot.
Absolutely, which doesn't work when you go from 3 employees to 17. So I had to spend a lot of time putting together policies and procedures on every little thing throughout the business, and that in turn created a lot more efficiency and a lot more consistency across what we were trying to do.
But you weren't fighting an uphill battle with the team. They wanted this. They helped create it.
Absolutely, and part of the process was and I told them, I was like, I'm not going to write all of this by myself and then just throw it at you guys. I made individuals responsible for certain parts of the policies and procedures. You develop this policy and procedure, you develop this one, and I split it up. And that was the only way we were going to get it done. It's a massive amount of material. But it also, in effect, created ownership of what they were creating again, and working towards this common goal. And a big part of that was, this is what we're doing, and you're a part of the why.
Do you ever have a comeback?
Absolutely.
How do you solve the problem?
That's something that we're actually looking at more deeply right now, with the massive increase in the amount of cars that are coming through our shop. There have been things slipping through. And so I'm looking at different ways to prevent that from happening right now. But a lot of it, comes down to these guys, the individuals, the technicians, they care about their quality of work. They're those kinds of technicians. And when they see that something wasn't done right, or a mistake was made, or something comes back, they definitely care. And so I'm just trying to create an environment for them where they have all of the opportunity to make sure that the car's done right the first time. And that way it doesn't have to come back. And so I think there's definitely some growing pains when you go from, 100 cars in a month to 300 cars in a month overnight. It becomes, much more of a challenge. And that drastic scale up has been challenging in many ways. And that's one of them.
There's going to be a lot of people listening to this wondering how the heck you did it.
It's a combination of things. We just built it up on top of itself, and one thing built after another. And when it all came together, it just fit. I wish I could be more specific, but the massive change immediately from, the overnight increase definitely has a lot to do with the location that we're in. We're now very centrally located, and we're in a population of 7.2 million people. That is a ton of people. And the number of people within 15 miles is massive. I mean, I estimate that I have over 50,000 potential customers just within a 10-mile radius of my facility. So when you have that kind of a potential customer base, anything that you can do to get in front of them, it's a snowball effect. And, 2 years ago, maybe no one had heard of us. A year ago, maybe they'd heard a couple of things. But now that we're right in the middle of everything, we put up a billboard on the busiest street in the city for 2 months when we first opened. And the idea of that was, hey, we're here now. And people noticed. And now we're becoming more and more of a staple. And now when someone says, oh, I have an Audi or I've got a Volkswagen, more and more people are aware. More and more people are saying, oh, well, you got to go to Blair. You got to go to Blair Automotive. And so it was a culmination of a lot of different things to get that success. But really, we were so cramped in our old facility that I think a lot of our limitations on car count specifically were because we physically couldn't get more cars in. And the second that we opened the floodgates and moved into a facility that was 4 times the size, now all of those people were coming in, on top of it being more convenient. So we probably had the work before, and we just physically couldn't do it.
Incredible 3 to 4 years of growth, bigger, newer facility. Do you regret anything?
I definitely regret a few things, but I don't know if I regret them so much as they were just mistakes that I made, but I also feel I had to learn from them. And there's so many of those. I call them my $5,000 mistakes, and I make 1 or 2 a year. And there's, eventually, I'd like to think that stops happening, but they're really important lessons that I needed to learn. And I think that, if anything, I might have gone a little slower. This growth is very, very fast. Maybe a little bit more patience as far as getting into this final scale. But we've dived in now, and we've gone all in, and there's no going back.
Did anyone ever try to talk you out of it?
Yeah. Obviously, I put myself at great financial risk. I had to personally guarantee, $1 million expansion. And that's huge, so I definitely, had concerns from people, but everyone believed in my vision. And I think people also recognize that when I'm going after what I want, or I'm going after what I'm trying to achieve, that they're going to get a lot more done by just kind of going along with me. But I definitely do have people that are set up specifically to kind of pull me back down to earth. And I really do listen to them. But in this, nothing was going to stop me. I was going to get to this point. It was my goal from the beginning, and I really wanted to get there.
Can we check up with you in a few years to see how the heck you're doing?
Absolutely. That would be great.
See how that new business plan's coming?
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, thanks for the insights. It was a lot of fun. I mean, I guess what I learned is that we have a millennial lifestyle shop in Dallas. It's a fun, crazy place to be, and at the whim, you guys will just go off and do something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I guess it's a winning formula, and I wish you all the greatest success in the world. Thanks for being on the podcast, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thank you, Ryan Blair, for your transparency on your journey to remarkable results. There are many great ideas shared and some great lessons to learn. The talking points on this interview and Ryan Blair's bio is at remarkableresults.biz/E285. And thank you for joining us and your support of the Aftermarket's premier podcast. I know you're finding a treasure trove of learning opportunities and wisdom in the podcast archives that include the individual interviews and the Town Hall Academy single subject forums, a powerful combo of individual learning. If you have any questions or comments, email me. I always reply, carm@remarkableresults.biz, or head over to the contact page and find the form on the website. Hey, please share this podcast with your friends and help all ships rise.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier automotive aftermarket podcast. Until next time,